things are not necessarily what they seem. This programme is about what you remember of what you see, but of course, seeing is not just a mechanical process. For instance, your eye tells you that that chimney over there is sitting on my hand, but your brain interprets the message and tells you, on the basis of past experience, that it can't possibly be. And of course, your brain is absolutely right. But you can start to remember things that you haven't actually seen if they're outside your brain's experience. If you see what I mean. A bit of a twist, that. Try something easier.
It's easy to see what sort of structure this is supposed to be. And it's easy to see what this is. But if you put the two together, the brain just can't make sense of it. But when it comes to something as familiar as a face, how easily are we fooled?
You must remember this. Thanks for the memory.
The human face is the subtle and complex sum of many parts.
Those eyes, those lips, it just isn't fair. You must forgive the way that I stare.
Another three-dimensional object, one we're all familiar with. It's a cast from a human face. But there's something odd about it. Could it be hollow? Yes, that's it.
You're still not quite sure, are you? And that may well be because the human face is so very important to us. We're social animals, so we need to recognize people as being either friend or enemy or relative or stranger. We need to be able to distinguish between lots of faces which are in many ways very similar. But while nature has given us the power to recognize faces, it hasn't given us the ability to pass on the information about them that we have locked away in our minds. For instance, we asked a passerby just to describe his wife.
It's not a recollection that I find particularly easy to paint in words. It's a visual recollection I have, but then I think it's confusing because I'm not sure how the brain recognises a visual reflection, which I'm quite sure you can't store pictures in your brain.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how you convert that sort of visual memory which I have into a picture in words.
You can see the problem, can't you? And even when you try to describe famous faces, it's still not easy to recognise them without visual clues.
The face I've got in mind presents the image of a fairly large man. A large, round face, heavy jowl, large ears. The hair is curly, slightly sunken eyes. Large nose. Yes, a large, fairly flat, large nose. Gritty.
We give up. Who is it?
Laurie McMenemy. Southampton football manager.
If you're feeling confident, try this one with your eyes closed.
Petite, small features, flair for clothes, hats come into it a lot, blue eyes, lovely smile, great big, she waves. It's a very nice wave.
Face which is a deadpan expression, has got black curly hair, bushy black eyebrows, a moustache. His mouth doesn't leave any impact on me. Chin, I would think was roundish.
Who is it?
It's Charles Chaplin.
Well, all that's a little bit like a party game. But there is one area where there is a serious need to be able to recognise and describe faces and events, if it comes to that, and that is in the courts of law. About 30% of all convictions are based on eyewitness accounts, so it's hardly surprising that all kinds of systems, police artists' impressions, identikit, photofit and so on, have been devised to help overcome our inbuilt shortcomings as witnesses. All the same, responsible lawyers have been and still are very concerned about our fallibility as witnesses. And that's why the Department of Psychology at the University of Aberdeen was asked to look into the problems of facial recognition.
Most people think that they're good at remembering faces, and indeed, most people are good. There are some people, some individuals who really are quite exceptional. When you think of it, the basic structure of a face is identical for every face. 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth.
One of the odd paradoxes about face recognition is the way that our ability to recognize a face is very, very good. And there does seem to be an enormous disparity between the average person's ability to recognize an individual and the average person's ability to recall an individual using all the existing systems. And we feel that if we could only bridge that gap between the very good recognition performance and the very average recall performance, then we could, at the end of the day, produce a more recognizable and a more usable and more useful composite for the policeman in the field.
This street may not be quite as elegant as the Champs-Élysées or Regent Street, but it is at least as well known. It'd be recognized in Finland, America, Australia, Hong Kong, and come to that, Buckingham Palace. It is, of course, Coronation Street, and for 21 years now, it's been at the center of Britain's most watched television show. What it hasn't been so far is part of a scientific experiment, but all that is about to change. We're going to stage an incident here which has been devised by the psychologists at Aberdeen University. And what's going to happen is that a group of people will come round on a rare tour of the studios, and they'll see a short scene.
Oh, mate, this is Tanner.
Apparently being filmed for Coronation Street.
OK, that was better. I think we can cut there.
Now, while they stay to watch, they'll witness a rather embarrassing interruption. And then later on, we're going to ask them what they remember and just how well. I know that you've staged incidents not dissimilar to this one at Aberdeen yourselves, but what's the point of them?
The problem with everyday events, which, say, the courts of law are concerned with, is that nobody really knows the true story of what happened. Everybody's got their own point of view, and you've got to try to distill the truth, which you never know quite what it is, from what they all say. Now, if you can mount your own instinct, at least you can be sure, if you've worked it all out, precisely what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you've got something that you can compare what people tell you about it with what you know actually happened. The point about these incidents, both in real life and our laboratory ones, is, of course, that the people are not normally expecting what's going to happen.
Some of our witnesses are going to be asked to try to identify the intruder, but how many do you think will manage that?
It would depend upon a number of factors, but if the incident which they witness lasts up to half a minute, I'd expect somewhere between 40 and 60% to identify him. Probably not many more than that.
Stand by, everyone. Stand by for tape.
The experiment gets underway. Will it bear out the work done at Aberdeen, or will our 10 witnesses do better at recalling events and faces?
OK.
Come to that, will you?
And are you all right, Mike? OK, action.
Oh, hey, this is Tanner.
No, Ken Fordham.
Fordham. 11.
What? 11?
Cut.
A few minutes later than we'd planned, and we're interrupted.
Yeah, can you, if you want to watch or something, you can come and don't make a noise. I think we're already held up by the rain, and it's... Sorry, we'll have to go again on that. If you want to come and watch, all right.
If you move up a bit,
yes,
so
if
you're in
you
shot.
move out of frame. Yeah, that's okay. But... Right, so stand by and sound.
Sound running.
Okay, Mike?
Mark it.
18, take 3.
Okay, action.
Oh, mate, Mrs. Tanner.
No, Ken Fordham.
Fordham. 11.
What? 11?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
Well, I've got it here. Look, 11 Coronation Street.
Oh, I thought you meant me.
You?
Yeah, I'm 26. I know I look young, but 11.
Look, mate, I'm a van driver, right? Not a flipping comedian. I just want to deliver a parcel.
You then.
Now, look, there's supposed to be a Mrs. Tanner lives here, but you reckon it's Mr. Ford, is it?
Come on, you know Leslie is. My bloody wife, right?
Why are you talking
Leslie
about
Walsh.
No, I don't know. No,
Oh,
Leslie
yes,
Walsh.
you do. You
God,
know
come
Leslie
on,
Walsh.
pal. Look, mate, just cool it, all
Now,
right?
listen, come on, you know, get down.
That's all right.
Well, no, mate, you know Leslie is. Leslie.
he is, Leslie Walsh, eh? Oh, come on. He just told me about it. All right. Now, look, I'll tell you that. After. I'll see you after. Leslie Walsh, you bloody know her, don't you, eh? All right, get your bloody hands up. Well, you'll stay there,
I don't know. I'm sorry on that, but that wasn't about. Did he? Are the gates open?
I don't know. I'll have to go and shut the gates in a minute.
Okay, check on those gates.
Can you check on that roof?
We don't have any more idiots there.
We just have a breather.
Yeah. Okay. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Fine.
Okay.
So stand by and. No.
Very quiet, please.
No. Okay.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed your little tour. We're going to ask you to try to remember the detail of what you saw, and specifically the incident that happened while you were on the Coronation Street lot. Now, I'm going to ask you to fill in a questionnaire.
Half an hour later, our unsuspecting guinea pigs had finished their tour and were assembled round a committee room table. They were given questionnaires to fill in about the events they'd just seen. And then Hayden Ellis and Graham Davis asked two of the witnesses, in entirely separate interviews, about their recollection of the incident.
Mrs. Boyle, during filming on the Coronation Street set,
You'll remember the scene was disrupted and that following a struggle, a man was led away by a security officer. And we'd like you to answer some questions about that particular incident.
did the man who interrupted the filming
come through the door
or through the arch?
Through the arch. Through the arches.
Yes.
He seemed to come around the corner, I thought.
What was he brandishing?
A bottle of whiskey. Bell's whiskey, I think. Half full.
In which hand was it?
Left hand. I think it was the right hand.
The right hand. Did he go straight past the parked car, or did he pause before he moved on? Do you remember that?
I think he paused at the car.
Yes.
He went straight past.
What was he complaining about?
Presumed the actor was having an affair with his wife, Leslie Walsh. I assumed it was something to do with a woman because he
Usually
he mentioned Leslie Walsh. He shouted out, "You know Leslie Walsh," to
Leslie
the actor. So I assumed it was something to do with another woman.
Was the bike knocked over before or after the security man arrived?
After.
After.
Leslie Walsh, eh? Oh, come on.
I thought before.
Before?
I was doubtful about that.
But you think on balance
Yes, I think
it was
before.
And do you remember who knocked over the bike?
No, I couldn't remember that, no. The security man. I
You just
couldn't be
remember
certain.
the
There
bike?
seemed to be so many people around the bike at that time that I couldn't be certain who actually knocked it over.
Did the trespasser push the actor with his left or his right hand?
His right hand.
His right hand.
Well, I think his left hand, because I think that bottle of whiskey was in his right hand.
Yeah. So you think
it had to be the
probably,
left.
probably gave him a left. And final question, do you remember whether he pushed the director?
I think he did, yes. I think in the scuffle he was pushed.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
The next day, 5 of the volunteers tried to recreate the intruder's face using the photofit system that's favoured by most British police forces.
The eyebrows.
They're led through it by another of the Aberdeen workers, Jean Shepherd.
I've done hundreds, literally hundreds of photofits. But if you have a thorough knowledge of all the pieces in the kit, all the elements, as they're called, it's useful.
The first impression was that he was fair, strong looking, youngish, like 30-ish.
You listen to the description that's given to you by the witness, and you get a good idea of what they're looking for, and then you can suggest the appropriate feature, always warning them that they won't get an exact replica.
That size of mouth with a fuller top lip. The overall shape of the face I thought was a little bit wider here.
Yes.
Round, slightly rounder, even though he did have a square jaw. It was wider at that point,
Yes.
I would have thought. But that's...
There are limitations in the number of features you've got. That's about the closest. You think that's the closest you'll get? Right. You have over 200 foreheads and hairstyles. You get a forehead with the hair. and then you have the eyes, nose, mouth, and chins.
This looks too young there, that's all.
Still too young.
Yeah, I would say something similar to that. I got the impression his face was quite fair, so the eyebrows would be quite fair, wouldn't be?
We'll try that. Now, a witness may have an excellent memory of the hairstyle that he or she is searching for, but it may not be in the kit.
Given that I can't be absolutely definite on it, I would say that's a near enough approximation.
You look at faces, first of all, as a whole. And so when you're trying to break up the face into 5 separate parts, because there are 5 features here, the forehead, eyes, nose, mouth, chin, you're interfering with this memory of the whole, and they've got to hang on to that memory while you build it up slowly.
From looking at everything in there, that will have to do, but it's not at all as I remember the man.
So you're not happy about
it? Not at all, no.
The next stage is to ask all the witnesses to try to identify the intruder from a lineup of 14 photographs.
The man may or may not be among these pictures. So what I'd like you to do is to look at them all carefully. And if you think you can pick him out, point to one of the pictures, okay?
I would choose this one.
That one there. Would you look at them all carefully? And if you think he's there, just point to him.
I'm not really sure he's there at all. But if I were to choose one, he's the nearest.
So, which one got it right? Did you? How well did our witnesses recall what went on, and how near to real life was our experiment?
I think their responses, both in their photo fits and their performance on the photo parade, in their descriptions of the incident and the individual concerned, they show the same sort of range that one finds in a real-life criminal incident. The same sort of mistakes, the same sort of strengths, and I'm afraid the same sort of weaknesses.
Now you've had a little bit of time to assess the results of all the goings-on this week. Have you been able to come to any conclusions?
Clearly, it's not a properly designed and controlled experiment. But even with the small group we've got, I think that we've got some results here which show the kinds of errors, distortions, misrememberings which can occur in these incidents. For example, there was disagreement about where the person emerged from. About half of the people said he came through an arch. Now, he actually came through a door beside the arch. But clearly a lot of the people didn't know he was on the set until he was well down the street. And so when they were asked, did he come through the door or through the arch, they simply inferred that he must have come through the arch, otherwise how did he get there? And had we asked where did he come from, perhaps they wouldn't have mentioned he came through the arch. Indeed, in his interviews afterwards, some of them said he came round the corner. But because the suggestion of an arch was put in, well, they said, well, he must have come through the arch. Yeah. And similarly, nearly half the people responded to the question, did he pause by the car or walk straight past it? But he walked straight past it. But there wasn't a car there to walk past. But since they hadn't seen him stop, they assumed that if there was a car parked there, he must have walked straight past it. So again, there's sort of implicit inference there. Well, there must have been a car there.
No, I don't know. No.
However, in contrast to that, everybody noticed a bottle in his hand. And a good half of them could tell you the brand of the whiskey that was supposedly in the bottle. So they actually could read off the label. And of course, when it came to the core of the incident, everybody seemed to think that he pushed the director, when in fact he didn't touch the director. He approached the actor, didn't touch the director.
Because they had witnessed a fairly violent incident and had obviously got the idea that the bloke was a bit of a thug, they then, some of them at least, remembered features like a broken nose or scars on his face. One actually remembered a tattoo on his arm because his arm was covered.
But of course, many of them got the clothing wrong. They thought the clothing would be much more obvious. But there are people reporting that he wore
blue jeans and a t-shirt, blue t-shirt.
His trousers were beige, I think. Quite smart.
Beige trousers?
Yeah.
What was he wearing on top?
A jumper, yeah.
A jumper. Any idea of the
A woolen
colour?
jumper. I think it was a bit deeper than his trousers. May have been a brown colour.
Brown. Mm-hmm.
When in fact he was wearing
yes.
a blue coat and black trousers.
So what actually happens in real life? I mean, if a case like that came to court and you trundle those witnesses in, I mean, when the stories vary like that, do you have to give more credence to one than to another?
This will depend upon the skill of the counsel for defense and prosecution. What you have to do is to show the inconsistencies in people's stories, their confusion, and if you can show that their story doesn't hang together, that if they said, for example, he was waving this bottle about with his right hand, and then they said that he pushed the man with his right hand but didn't touch him with the bottle, then you might infer from that, well, how could they have pushed him with the bottle in his right hand without touching him with a bottle? It's when we come to identification we have more problems. Because how can you prove through cross-examination that he hasn't identified the right person?
Right.
Cross-examination, you can get to the faults in their account, but something as simple as he was the man is much more difficult.
Anyway, Graham, I suppose the next element after the incident, they tried to recreate the face that they'd seen with a photo picture, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. What we do get in our actual photo fits is an approximate type likeness. One can see this in the shape of the face. It's been translated into someone with fairly heavy jowls. Something about the distribution of hair. They all seem to agree that it's a grizzled, receding hair. And also some consistency over the choice of eyes, that the same sets of eyes appear in at least several of the photo fits. But beyond that, there's a great range of selection of features. So we do get some sort of type. But even within that type, I think people would be hard put to look at those five people, those five composites, and say, that's one single individual.
And finally, the photographic identity parade, which was your area, Hayden.
Yes, John made a prediction earlier on that we would get an identification rate of between 40 and 60%.
Yeah.
Well, we actually got an identification rate of 50% without any cheating, in fact. And if we look at the array here, we see that's the target.
Yeah.
And half of our sample were accurate in picking him out, which isn't bad in relation to the other evidence that we've just discussed. A number of those who were wrong picked the same wrong person. Now that's interesting, obviously, from a police point of view, that here 30% of the witnesses saying it was that person there I saw yesterday, just yesterday. And there are similarities, obviously, but there are also dissimilarities. They really are quite different people.
I imagine that what you've learnt in general from all the work you've done constitutes a warning to all of us, really. But one word of warning, presumably, has to be said to the viewers of the programme.
Yes, the first one is the warning that perhaps we can't always trust our powers of observation as perhaps we think we can. There are so many cases from real life in which people have indeed been virtually led to the gallows on the basis of erroneous recall of what occurred, errors of identification, which must make us all very careful about accepting the power of observation.
We want to ensure that the minimum number of innocent people are arrested or interrogated on the basis of eyewitness evidence.
I think, in general, what we're really concerned with is trying to educate the public at large, and in particular the legal profession, as to the fallibility of the eyewitness giving testimony in court, to impress over and over on people the fact that the eye is not a camera and the brain is not a computer, that we do not see everything accurately, and we certainly don't store it as accurately as some people seem to think.
No, Ken Fordham.
Peter.
My bloody wife, right? Leslie Walsh.